I think Jon Jones would have taken a little bit less money to fight Stipe.
I do
Now
too.
he's like, show me the money. Like,
Hey, that's okay. That he can do that, and that's you look and you go, hey, to fight that guy, yeah, you want to get paid, and I think Jon Jones should get paid. It's a huge fight with the guy that is this monster knockout artist against the guy that we all say is the most talented fighter, probably the best we've ever seen in the sport of MMA. He's undefeated actually, other than a disqualification loss. So he's this is the fight people want to see. I don't blame him. Pay him the money.
It comes down to I understood that he would probably, if you're fighting someone like Stipe, right, and then you go up in weight class and you beat who was considered to be the greatest heavyweight, I think, in the UFC history, it would make sense for him to go there and be like, hey, yeah, sure, I'll fight him, for obviously a bump and pay, but now you're fighting a guy that he's nasty dangerous. He's proven tonight that he's gotten a lot better since the first time that they fought. Jon Jones to me is just a different animal than Stipe, and I'm not taking a jab at Stipe. It's just athletically is a different animal. Don't get me wrong, Stipe is an athlete. He's proven that time and time again. He's proven me wrong, and me saying he's not an athlete like DC. Okay, but he's an athlete. There's no doubt. You don't become the UFC.
You know exactly.
Becoming an athlete. So, I can admit, you guys, I was being a homer when it came to the DC stuff. Okay, and I will continue that way towards people I have trained with in the past. But when it comes down to Jon Jones and the Francis Ngannou fight, I think Jon has a very high fight IQ. He finds ways to win. He's proven that time and time again. His body style and his length definitely works to his advantage. I think he is what, 6'5",
6'4".
Okay, so he's an inch taller than Francis.
No, same size.
Or they're all 3'6" tonight.
Both are 6'4".
Okay, so 6'4". All right, so they're all 6'4". Thickness, size, all that stuff obviously go to Francis, but athleticism I think was going to go to probably Jon. The style of which he fights, that front thigh kick is going to come into effect that night. That little front knee thigh kick, it's going to keep Francis kind of at bay. Because here's the thing, when Stipe threw some kicks tonight, and when he threw a couple little things off, he fainted. Francis sometimes got a little like slippery
off balance.
Yeah. Jon's going to take that to his advantage. I'm saying he's going to get him down off of that, but I'm saying there will be some advantages there, and that little front thigh kick's going to lead to making him off balance some more. That opens up a lot of the other striking. But it will become one of the more higher paid, I think, UFC events, especially for the year. Maybe, I don't want to say all time, but it will be one of the most highest paid pay-per-views. Jon coming up in weight, but can they get the deal done? Because if I'm Jon, I'm like, you want me to fight that fucking monster? Like, you know what I mean? And I'm just being real. And he's got one win. He's got one. This will be his first title defense as me. If it was Stipe, it's like, if I beat this guy, I'm now the go to heavyweight. Is what he's saying for the UFC. I'm now the greatest heavyweight fighter in UFC history. That's what Jon was looking at. Like, if I fight Stipe, I'm going to be now considered like, I just beat the greatest heavyweight in UFC history. So now I'm that guy, and it's gonna be hard to say like, oh, well, I get it. You're Jon Jones. You already did everything at 205. So I'm excited to see the fight though, if they can get the contract done. Otherwise, we're going to see Stipe and Ngannou 3.
I'm not too sure, and it's unfortunately, and it just, I don't know why, but it seems based upon just the personality of Stipe, and he's a fantastic guy. I love him, but the UFC doesn't look at him as that needle mover. And so they want a needle mover in that spot, and you look and you go, Francis Ngannou, he's a needle mover because people want to watch a guy. It's got that Mike Tyson like power that can put someone out in, just one shot, it's over. So they've got a guy now in that spot. He's kind of a needle mover. Do you want to put the guy back in that you don't think is the needle mover? I don't know. I don't think they do. I think they're going to, first off, they got fans coming back, going to Jacksonville. They're going to then go to Houston. And you could put Jon Jones and Ngannou together in a half year and make a fortune on it. pay them what they deserve, pay Jon what he deserves, and he deserves a hell of a payday for everything that he's done in the past and to step up, into that fight. But that fight's not going to be an easy fight for Jon. If Jon has shown one thing, it's guys that are long, have range, they give him problems. If there's anybody that does give him problems, they slow down what he does. So here's a guy that not only is long, has range, he's also got a freaking tomahawk missile in that right hand or the left hand, and he could put out your lights at any moment. So
Yeah.
it's a big one for Jon.
Yeah, he tends to have problems with people who have just as long a reach as him.
Mm-hmm.
And he thinks because over the years he's been able to, just like I said, play big brother, where he just puts his palm on your head and holds you at bay. Like
Yep.
fighting DC was probably one of the easier fights because DC's only 5'11", maybe 5'10". He could just hold him.
I say you just gave him inches. Let's be honest.
Like 5'9.5" or something. And D's my boy, but let's not give him about 5'10". Okay, but like Jon could just put his hand on his head and just hold him there and hit him. He had problems with Gus. He had problems with Dominic Reyes. He had problems with guys that were bigger, longer. And that new generation of guys that were coming up are bigger and longer, And so Francis Ngannou is that guy who he could, I guess you could say, I don't want to say unseat him, but I mean, could really, really give him that real O or that real one on his O.
Oh yeah, you could take away that invincibility.
The invincibility thing that people have been talking about. But people have been talking about the fact that he hasn't looked good. He hasn't looked good in his last 3 or 4 fights. And he's been more hittable. And he just seems like he's been skating through. Now, I may contribute that to a little bit of motivation. There hasn't been a whole lot of motivation for him to fight those guys.
It's rough.
I already went through this bracket 3 times. I've fought, DC 3 times, whatever. It's like, okay, I've been through this already. I'm done. I'm done beating everybody. There's a whole new crop coming up. Let's move on. Let's do something else. And I think what he saw was there's a lot of guys that have won 2 championships that are champs, and him being considered one of the best in UFC history and being considered probably the most talented in UFC history, he only has 1 strap. He's only had, and that's the thing. So for him to do it, he'd have to go down to 85, which I don't think he could have done. For him to go up to heavyweight, he had to pick the right time. And I think his lack of motivation at 205 started to come through. And he's like, look, what do I got to do to get myself back on this thing? To feel like I wanted to make that run at 205, let me go up to heavyweight. I think the perfect timing was this time. I don't know about against Ngannou, but Stipe, it would have probably made it a lot better for him in terms of the abilities. But Ngannou's just scary. Like it doesn't matter. Even if he has a bad day and he just fucking the wind blows by your chin, you're going down.
Dude, when he swings and misses, you could get hurt.
Yeah, especially if it was me, I'd fucking die. Oh man. I don't know, Jon. What do you think? Do you think? I mean, I think they get the deal done. I think here's where I think Stipe lost it. When he became champion, there was like this thing where, and I talked about this like years ago, and this is kind of what turned me off with Stipe back then, is that he kind of got into this little bit of a weird vibe where it was like, I think there was a fight he wanted. I don't know. He was talking about some fight. I think it was with Brock, maybe way back.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then that didn't come to fruition. And he kind of sat out for a while. And then he fought. And then, he fought DC and he lost. But he was like, he was kind of like demanding respect at the time. Like, I'm the champion, this and that. And it kind of comes across a little bit whiny. And I think people got turned off by that. And it led into, when he lost to DC and then, excuse me, and then DC going on the Brock tangent also, and then, him being on the sideline forever, waiting around instead of taking another fight. Everyone's like, well, now you're being whiny about that too. Why don't you fight somebody else if you want to stay active and make money? And he didn't want to fight somebody else. And so there was a lot of little things in there, I think, that kind of like turned people off. And then that affects the needle moving. And so it just becomes, and then the heavyweight division was locked up so long with Brock's coming back, Brock's not coming back, and then just the excitement was starting to kind of fall apart. You know, we haven't.
Who was excited about Brock coming back? Come on. Who? DC was excited because he's like, cha-ching, that's a good payday for me. But
it was excited too about possibly fighting him. You know, but I mean, the only person I know that's excited about it is this knucklehead over here at podcast. Yeah. Anyways, I think that's a little bit of the needle moving thing, and I can see it. What is he? 37, 38 now, Stipe? I think he's 38 years old. I don't see them giving an automatic rematch. But
I don't either.
The deal done with Jon Jones, I don't really know. Do they go with Derek Lewis, knowing what happened in the first fight?
They're going to try to stay away from that for as long as they can.
That's the only thing. Like, what are you going to do?
No one wants to put a fight back together that was horrible.
That's the only people there, though. You have Cyril gone. You've got Derek Lewis. Curtis Blades just got knocked out. That's it. Volkov, didn't he just get knocked out too?
No, he won.
Oh, who did he fight? Can't remember. Anyways, and then Rosenstruck just had probably the second worst fight ever in history against Cyril Gane. So who do you give it to? It'd have to be Derek Lewis if it's not going to be Stipe. If they can't get the deal done with Jon Jones,
they're going to get that deal will get done.
100% agree.